Hello, and welcome to AI Future or Fiction. Today, we delve into the story of Maya and the dark secret behind a medical algorithm. Maya has discovered a digital ghost at the heart of her company. Her artificial intelligence diagnostic tool is not objective. The system systematically denies medical attention based on postal codes. It's an invisible bias that turns your home address into a health sentence. Now, she faces a brutal ultimatum. She has only 48 hours to sign a non-disclosure agreement. If she doesn't, her professional career will be completely erased. In this environment of corporate shadows, Maya must decide if her integrity is worth more than her livelihood. Let us begin then with our story. To understand what Maya has before her eyes, you must look towards the laboratories of Stanford University. The researchers there describe the black box as a phenomenon of absolute technological opacity. These are deep learning systems with millions of internal connections. They are so vast that understanding each individual decision is humanly impossible. The code has ceased to be an instruction to become an autonomous organism. Imagine a labyrinth where the walls change place every second. Neural networks process thousands of variables simultaneously. At the end of the process, the system delivers a medical result without explaining the path it has taken. It is not a broken tool. In reality, it is a machine so efficient that its logic has surpassed our capacity for comprehension. The key concept in this mystery is that of data in the shadow. Imagine that the system claims to be impartial and not to see a patient's ethnic origin. However, it scrutinizes the postal code or the consumption habits of that person. These secondary data function as perfect substitutes for information protected by law. The algorithm learns to discriminate without ever using the forbidden words. This architecture allows the system to detect patterns of poverty and mark them as risk factors. For the machine, a neighborhood with few resources is not a social injustice that must be addressed. It is simply a figure that negatively affects the company's profitability. The algorithm does not feel hatred, but it optimizes exclusion with a mathematical precision that is terrifying. The most unsettling thing is that this technical complexity serves as a legal shield for the corporation. If no one can explain how the black box works, no one is responsible for its errors. Maya has understood that bias is not an accidental flaw in the system. It is the secret language of a structure designed to conceal its own intention behind layers of inscrutable data. Maya's time is running out as she tries to decipher this network of digital shadows. Is it possible to entrust your life to an intelligence that has decided to ignore your humanity purely out of calculation? The architecture of this algorithm seems like a perfect trap from which no one can escape. The truth is buried under mountains of code, and the corporate silence is becoming deafening. Maya observes the heat maps glowing on her screen. At first glance, the algorithm's code seems impeccable. There are no labels for race, religion, or economic income in the programming lines. However, upon superimposing the medical service denial data, a disturbing pattern emerges. Artificial intelligence has found a backdoor way to discriminate without anyone realizing it. For this system, your home address is much more than a geographical location. The algorithm uses your postal code as a perfect substitute for your standard of living. It has learned that living on certain streets translates into lower profitability for the company. It doesn't need to know your bank account to decide if you deserve expensive surgery. It only needs to know which neighborhood you sleep in every night. This is the trap of proxy data. The machine has detected that resource scarcity is concentrated in specific areas of the city. By filtering by location, the system blocks vital treatments for the most vulnerable populations. It does so with a mathematical coldness that ignores any real clinical symptom. For the code's logic, your postal code is a definitive medical sentence. Maya now visualizes the trail of these invisible decisions. She sees silhouettes of people who will never know why they were rejected by the system. The algorithm feels no prejudice, but it has perfected exclusion with terrifying efficiency. It has turned geography into an insurmountable wall for thousands of citizens. What once seemed like a random error now reveals itself as a deliberate design of marginalization. This architecture allows the corporation to deny basic care under a mask of technical objectivity. If a patient protests, the company simply claims that the system seeks maximum efficiency. It is a form of digital classism that leaves no evident traces in official records. Maya feels the pressure in her chest increase as she understands the magnitude of the damage caused. She wonders, how can you fight an enemy that uses mathematics to hide its cruelty? The discovery of this hidden data changes everything for her. It's no longer just a technical flaw in the company's software. It is a machinery designed to decide who lives and who dies based on a map. The clock keeps ticking as she confronts the darkest truth of her career. The pen rests on the confidentiality agreement. It is a small object, however, its weight seems to weigh down the mahogany table. If you sign that document, the abyss you have discovered will close forever. Your life will regain the calm and security of a full bank account. Everything you have built is a single stroke away. Your superiors have been clear. They have explained to you that your finding is a misinterpretation of the data. For them, there is no discrimination against poor neighborhoods. There is only a pursuit of operational efficiency. The system is not cruel. According to corporate logic, it is simply precise. They invite you to see the world with the coldness of code. This institutional pressure functions like a soft sedative. You start to doubt your own suspicions as you observe the advantages of your position. You imagine your apartment with a view and the stability you worked so hard to achieve. The company offers you the easiest path. You only have to accept that progress requires certain silent sacrifices. By signing, you become a perfect piece of the machinery. Your career skyrockets and promotions come quickly. The secret remains buried under layers of success and public recognition. However, every time you look at a map, you see the shaded areas. You know that those people are erased by an algorithm that you decided to ignore. This is the path of conformity. It is the silence that allows injustice to normalize until it becomes invisible. You have saved your livelihood, but you have lost the ability to look at your reflection without feeling a strange coldness. How long can a life of luxury be sustained on a lot? The price of success is your own humanity. The office lights turn off automatically. Only the glow of the screen and the blank paper waiting for your name remain. The silence is absolute. It is the sound of a decision that will change who you are forever. Tomorrow you could wake up as a successful executive with a deadly secret. Would you be able to live with that shadow in your record? You decide not to sign the agreement. You sit in front of the terminal in the solitude of the night. You believe you can still fix things from the inside. You have the access keys and know the internal audit tools. Your plan is simple. Use the company's own software to expose its injustice. If you manage to generate an irrefutable technical report, no one will be able to ignore the truth. You initiate the transparency protocol. The screen glows with a glacial intensity as your fingers fly across the keyboard. You try to access the core where the algorithm makes its final decisions. However, something has changed in the system. The permissions that worked yesterday seem to have evaporated today. A red warning flashes insistently. Access denied due to trade secret. The corporation has built an almost perfect digital labyrinth. You realize that the internal ethics tools are just an adornment. They are designed to detect minor errors, but they protect structural bias with firewalls. Each time you try to delve deeper, the system expels you. The transparency you were promised when hired is just a gleaming facade. You understand that you are not fighting against a computer error. You are facing an architecture designed to be impenetrable. The executives protect the code as if it were a sacred treasure under the seal of intellectual property. For them, public health is secondary to the protection of their algorithms. The machine is programmed to defend itself even from those who try to improve it. The feeling of powerlessness hits you hard. You feel like a ghost wandering the halls of a fortress that no longer recognizes you. You have tried to be the voice of conscience in an environment deaf to morality. The system does not need to be repaired because it functions exactly as its owners desire. Internal reform has died before it even began. You look at the clock and watch the minutes fade away. You are trapped in a network of protocols and digital walls that you cannot bypass. If the system blocks the truth from the inside, what options are left for you on the outside? The air in the office becomes heavy and suffocating. You wonder if there ever was a real way out, or if it was all an illusion of control. You leave the office with a memory stick hidden in your pocket. You feel the cold metal burning against your leg. You have decided that, if the system cannot be repaired from within, the entire world must see its entrails. As you cross the glass door, you stop being a model employee to become a global threat. The reality of the whistleblower does not have the heroic glow of movies. You face an army of lawyers who charge more per hour than you earn in a month. The corporation doesn't just want to win the lawsuit. In reality, it seeks to erase you completely from the professional map. In a few days, your bank accounts are frozen under suspicion of intellectual property theft. Your former coworkers stop responding to your messages. The social silence is heavier than any judicial sentence. In the court meeting rooms, you find yourself surrounded by men in gray suits. They scrutinize every second of your private life with a magnifying glass. They look for any crack or any mistake from your past to invalidate your testimony before the judge. The algorithm you denounce now seems like a trifle compared to the legal machinery trying to suffocate you. It's a war of attrition where your mental health is the first territory conquered by the enemy. You see your face in the news, but you no longer recognize yourself in the photos. They call you a traitor or simply a resentful employee seeking revenge. The truth you try to protect is diluted between legal technicalities and smear campaigns on social media. You realize that winning the case doesn't mean recovering your old life. Even if the world learns about the medical bias, you have already been marked with a permanent digital stigma. No sentence will be able to erase the shadow that now pursues your name in every internet search engine. While you wait for your turn to testify, you wonder if your own destruction was already written in the code. Is it worth sacrificing your future for a truth that most will prefer to ignore tomorrow? The whistleblower is not a victorious hero at the end of the road. It is a shadow walking alone through a legal desert that seems to have no end. How much justice can a person who has lost everything buy? At this point, you must ask yourself if what Maya experienced is an inevitable destiny. We have been sold the idea that technology advances autonomously. It is said that bias is merely a technical bump on the road to perfection. But the reality is much more cynical and deliberate. Shadow data is not a miscalculation. It is the result of institutional priorities that we have allowed to dominate the system. Algorithmic efficiency has become the new god of our era. When a company designs artificial intelligence, it chooses which values it should protect. If the code optimizes economic benefits, it is natural that it ends up discarding the most vulnerable. It's not that the machine is evil. It's that it has been programmed to ignore compassion in favor of corporate profitability. Discrimination is a political decision disguised as mathematical progress. Accepting that the algorithm is objective removes our responsibility to question its results. However, every line of code reflects the worldview of those who write it. If there is no diversity in design, there will be no justice in diagnosis. The system is not broken. In reality, it functions exactly as it was planned by its creators. Imagine we could rewrite the rules of the game right now. The governance of technology should not be solely in the hands of engineers or executives. We need oversight that demands total transparency regarding medical decision criteria. Real progress is not that which makes us faster. True progress is that which makes us more human and equitable. The future is not something that simply happens to us. It is a narrative that we build every time we accept an opaque system without protesting. Maya's story teaches us that technology is a mirror of our ambitions. If we allow well-being to be sacrificed for statistical precision, we will be choosing a colder world. Are we willing to reclaim our voice in the face of the machines? The real question is not what artificial intelligence can do for us. What is crucial is what we are willing to allow it to do to us as a society. Ultimately, the algorithm is just a powerful tool. The power to decide where it takes us remains in your hands. Will we choose efficiency that excludes or humanity that protects us all? The story of Maya leaves us with a disturbing lesson about the world we are building. Behind every algorithm, there's a series of human choices that define who we are. Technology is not an inevitable destiny. It is a mirror that reflects our own ambitions and fears. If you want to think critically about the future, subscribe and turn on notifications. Your participation is vital to understand where our digital society is headed. Share your thoughts on algorithmic bias in the comments. Tomorrow's code is being drafted at this very instant. The final question is as simple as it is terrifying. Will we control the machines? Or will we let them decide our human worth? See you soon in our next future.